Hi guys, Matt here. Welcome to the Monder Mix. So why I started this channel is because I go to an insane amount of gigs over the year and now a lot of festivals, and I thought I watch a lot of YouTube content on how people get on at these gigs and review them and how the festivals and the vlogs, and I feel like I'm just watching someone else's memories, which is cool and it's so fun, but at the same time I don't have my own to look back on, and with the amount I go to I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice, so I felt like why not. So with this first episode, I was lucky enough to go to the festival in Cheltenham called 2000Trees. Bit of backstory, I've always wanted to go to 2000Trees, it's always been on my radar. Life events, whatever, something's always been in the way, or I've been at Download that year, or Slam Dunk, or whatever. But this year I was lucky to have the opportunity to go down and experience it firsthand, and I want to sum that up in one video to kind of give the person who might be thinking about going to trees that kind of push, or maybe this isn't for you. So in this video we're going to delve into that. So first of all, I want to talk about how easy it was getting there. We basically just put it into the sat nav, and on our ticket we were told to go to gate D. We got in straight away, parked up, perfect, and that was on the Wednesday, so that could have potentially been the busiest day. When we parked up, we were told we could bring our tents down with us or just go get our wristbands from the box office, because we hadn't got them on our app pre turning up the trees. So what we decided was we'll go to the box office, assess how long the walk would be, and work from there. The field is tiny, so we got back to the car, loaded up one journey, and just walked to where we were camping, set up tent in about 15 minutes, looked around and realised this is tiny. So for anyone who's familiar with UK festivals, I would almost say 2000Trees is about the size of, like, say, a Slam Dunk, but you camp at it. That's the best way I would tell people about it. So we set up camp, and then we went back to the car to get like beers, food, all the stuff that wasn't essential to make in the camp, and even that was 5 minutes to the car, 5 minutes to the camp. Everything was set up perfect, everything went smooth, the stewards were lovely, everyone kept us going the right way. Walking through trees and forest was cool, like it wasn't your usual muddy download walk or anything like that. And even that, the weather was brilliant the first day, so that was cool, that really helped. So at Trees, they've got a motto, heroes by beeros, and what that means is, because it's an independent community run festival, they kind of want you to put money into the festival to kind of keep it going, which I completely respect, but they will not stop you bringing your own beers into the arena. So if you're strapped for cash or you've budgeted a different way, you could just bring in your tins or your vodka or whatever, as long as it's not in glass, with you. And to me, that was the first time I've ever witnessed that at a festival, and it was brilliant. And we found a little balance of that. We kind of brought a few beers in, and then we'd get beers at the bar because then they'd be cold or whatever. And that started on the first day. Like, immediately when you went in, you could feel that atmosphere between people. You could tell people were supporting the community. People were banned from the vendors. So it was great. The first day technically started on the Wednesday, although the festival is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event. Because England were playing in the Euros, they designated a tent to actually show the match, which was cool. I wasn't overly bothered, that was fine, but the atmosphere was awesome. So we just kind of went in, soaked in all the atmosphere, talked to people. Everyone was nice, everyone was lovely. That's going to be a running trend of this whole video, is everyone was lovely. Stewards were lovely, bar staff were lovely, everyone at the festival who were going, lovely. Anyway, my first experience of the forest stage was, I couldn't believe it. It's literally a stage in the forest, and Boston Manor headlined that stage on the Wednesday, and that was just so cool. Every night at Trees there's a silent disco as well, which I don't know how I felt about it going into it, because I didn't think a silent disco was for me until I got there, and now I am a silent disco person. So they've got, you buy the headphones, you pay a £20 deposit, and I think it was £8 on top of that, but you get the £20 back at the end. And your headphones have 4 different channels, so 2 different stages with 2 different DJs on it, and you can press different buttons. So getting the headphones was very easy. They asked us had we pre-booked them. We hadn't, and they just had the headphones for us. They gave us them, we give us the money, done, easy. And that they then told us that if the headphones die or we had any problems with them the whole festival, that they would change them. So that was cool. Lovely people as well, so that was awesome. And going into the silent disco, the headphones range was amazing. Like, we were getting reception for the music while we were still at the campsite, which was, I'll get back to that eventually. But I didn't stay out late the first night because I didn't want to go too hard, but yeah, that was cool. So the first proper day of music started on the Thursday, and it really started to fill up like it started to fill up like a proper like 3-day festival. And it would have been because the headliners were the Gaslight Anthem, Manchester Orchestra, Kids in Glass Houses, Hot Mulligan, loads of really, really cool bands. So we got in there very early and tried to soak up as much as we could. So on that day we seen, not to name everyone, but we seen Spanish Love Songs, we seen Static Dress, we seen a bit of Movements, we seen Boston Manor again, Hot Mulligan, Kids in Glass Houses, and I kind of missed a lot of the headliners, but what I caught was insane. I thought, this is a perfect start to a festival. And this was our first day of the silent disco being full, and again, everyone was lovely, everyone was respectful, and it was the first time I'd been to a festival in a while where I'd looked around and went, this is a very clean festival. Everyone was just very respectful of the festival, which was amazing. On the Thursday, I got talking to Henry from Boston Manor, and he'd mentioned how it's a super unique festival and you don't get often asked to play at festivals like this. And spending time at the Forest stage, I see what he meant. Like, they'd played the night before to like 4,000 people. If that, I don't know, I couldn't even put a number on it, but it was small and everyone was singing every word back in the trees on like a makeshift stage. It was awesome. And what a lot of people were telling us while we were going around the campsite was that at Trees, fans make campsites within campsites. And what that means is there's a Camp Turner for Frank Turner, there's a Camp Reuben for the band Reuben, there's a couple more the people were mentioned, but later in the weekend Frank Turner actually came and played on this stage, and in my head I was picturing a stage, but going down and seeing it, it may as well have just been a pallet with a poster, and it was awesome. Like, having someone of that name playing with no PA, no mic, nothing, to, I don't know, 60, 70 people at 11:30 at night. It was cool. But that stage was used by other people during the weekend, so people might just get up and do a set. You get the odd people playing Wonderwall, you always do, stuff like that. But the vibe, the whole festival was so cool. I just thought, if there's a community within a festival that's willing to make their own stages within their own festival, then this is super unique. So that was pretty much my first impressions of it. Then on the Friday was what I would have thought was my big day. I really wanted to see the Chats. I love the Chats. Hot Milk were another one I seen that day. They were unreal. Like, I live in Manchester now. They're one of ours. Unbelievable. I was glad I was in the tent because you couldn't get in it. It was heaving. They were awesome. Other people I tried to see that day was Empire State Bastard. Again, couldn't get near the tent at all, but what you could hear outside just sounded like roars. It was awesome. But one of the best bands of the Friday by a country mile was Bob Vylan. For months, people have been telling me, you need to go see Bob Vylan, you need to go see Bob Vylan. And I kind of was like, yeah, when he tours, I will, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was given a chance to. And at the start, I didn't know how to take it because he made us do like aerobics and stretches and yoga. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then kicked into exactly what I thought it would be. And the crowd were going insane. And he was playing second to last on the main stage. And I thought, if he's bringing that energy at that time, like, the headliners really need to bring it. And then it was the Chats, and they played for an hour, which I thought was insane for a headline set. But they played their songs by 3 times the speed, battered through about 1,000 songs, not really, but a lot of songs in no time. It was awesome. So that was the Friday. Again, another silent disco. Every night, the same kind of format. You go down, headphones, whatever. But the Friday seemed to be the busy night. Like, when I went down, there's like stages. So there's the Axiom stage and the Cave stage, and they were fairly close to each other. And in the middle was like hay bales. And on the first nights, you were able to get into each of the tents where the stages were. On the Friday, we were just out with hay bales, and it was just insane. And at one point, I took my headphones off and just looked around and just tried to record a bit of footage, and it was just the most nonsense I've ever heard. And I just remember smiling, thinking, this is so cool. So that was the Friday. This takes us to Saturday. So Saturday was the day that sold me on the whole festival, and the band I wanted to see at the festival was Creeper. I wanted to see Creeper at 2000Trees because I'd seen so much footage of them playing at Trees, and they'd played like deep cuts, the crowd was going stupid, whatever, and I just felt like I've seen them about 8 times at this point, but I've not seen them in this setting. I've seen the band talk about Trees very fondly, and I felt like if I'm to go, they need to be there, and they were. And I'll talk about them in a bit. On the Saturday was Don Broco, Frank Turner and the Sleeping Souls, Creeper, Cleopatra, Death from Above, Wargasm. The list goes on. We'll put the picture up on the screen because it was a busy day. We kind of took it easy because it was our final day of music, and it had all hit us. So we went and got some food. I think we got it was this mac and cheese stall, and it was probably the best mac and cheese I've ever had in my life. On the Saturday, we went and seen a podcast. It was the Mark and Me podcast with Frank Turner, and he played a few songs in the forest stage while he did his podcast. The podcast was brilliant. It lasted an hour, and I didn't know how I was going to feel about standing for an hour listening to a podcast, but the setting made you feel like you were almost part of it. And it was a Q&A podcast. A lot of people asked some really cool questions, and I'm sure it's online at the moment, so if it is, it's there now. As I said, I was there for Creeper, and Creeper didn't disappoint. It was so loud in that tent with people singing that we barely could hear the band, and that's not a complaint. 2 songs near the end I needed to get out to get some air, and I'm glad we left so late because you couldn't get near that tent after. It was heaving. It was brilliant. I'm glad to see that it did such a big turnout. Last band of the night was Don Broco. Seen them a few times, think they're fantastic, and they absolutely killed it. I didn't know how to feel about them being the last band of the entire weekend. They literally played nothing but hits. They played nothing but hits. They had fireworks, they had pyro, they had confetti, everything, and it was a big festival feel ending to a festival. And what I mean by big festival feel is I felt like I was in somewhere like Download or Ryan Leeds where there was 90,000 people, but in reality there was only 15,000 people in that field, and not all of them were Don Broco, but they made it feel like you were. It's such a weird thing to say, but that's my 2 cents on it. And then on the Sunday, you just go home. I will be honest, trying to get out into the traffic was a nightmare, but at the same time, I've been in a lot longer queues trying to get out of a field than Trees, so an hour max I think we were in it for. It was okay. One thing I will say that's not a complaint, but it's an observation, is some of the tents have very weird locations for the scaffolding for the poles. So I think it was 1 or 2 tents had them where one of the main poles was right in the middle of the stage at the front. So if you were standing in the middle of the tent looking in, you were looking at a pole, which wasn't the end of the world. You just knew that you'd have to stand to the left or to the right, but it was odd. but I get that they're smaller tents. They're not like the ones you'd get at Reading Leeds or Download or even Slam Dunk. They are the smaller little red ones you see. But that was something that we were trying to bear in mind when we were getting our locations to stand to watch the bands. But it didn't take away from it. It was just an observation. And to be fair, a lot of the bands actually used it to their like advantage or shows. Like a lot of them climbed up on it, or like were swinging off it or whatever. Like it was cool. Like it was almost part of the show. And after about a day, you completely forgot about it. So that's my summary of 2000 Trees. I know it was very vague. The problem was I had sunstroke, so I couldn't get it up straight away. So this is a week late. Videos in the future won't take this long. I think my next festival I'm doing is Radar Fest in Manchester, so I'll be doing that, and I'll try to get one quicker so it's more fresh in my mind. But yeah, finally got over my cold or whatever it was from trees, so that's good. I wish I'd have got footage, but literally no one was on their phones. It was one of the very few festivals I've ever been to where someone wasn't stood like that in front of me, which was awesome. But going forward in the channel, I want to do a lot more immersive content, so I will be trying to get a bit more. This was on the fly. I felt like I needed to get this out because it was such a good festival. I've done 4 festivals this year, and Trees was by far the most surprising and, in a word, wholesome festival ever that I've ever done. So yeah, I was really pleased with it. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for future content. And if anyone has any recommendations of bands I should check out live, or festivals, especially in the UK, we could go to, please don't hesitate to give us a message in the comment section. Anyone's got any thoughts on their experiences with Trees, please, I'd love to know. And thank you again.